came out with one book. And I guess it's a good thing because we got rid of a lot of books, but I kind of wish we'd found some more stuff that we wanted, but that's okay. We may have only gotten one at the store, but the library did us right today. Hey y'all, welcome to the family that reads a lot. This is a wrap-up video on some books that we've read recently. I'm gonna space these out a little bit more. I was doing them weekly. Now that we're back in school, it's not gonna be weekly, probably bi-weekly, with a few more books in each video kind of a thing. So we'll see how it all goes. But we've been reading some really good books, so we'll just jump right into it. First one is The King's Fifth by Scott Odell. This is a book my son was assigned by me. We homeschool for school. So I guess before we jump into it, let me begin at the beginning. So son is 11, daughter is 8, both solid middle grade readers. He is 6th grade, she is 4th grade. So gonna have a mishmash of things that they read for homeschool, things that they read for pleasure, all that kind of stuff. I try and give you their opinions of books, not just my opinions of books. So that for this one, this was by Scott Odell. We are studying the Age of Exploration, and that's what this was about. So it is about Estefan, who's a cartographer or a map maker, and it describes his journey to Mexico with the conquistadors of Spain. So my son read this. I did not read this. I intended to read it before he did. Didn't have time. Ran out of time. School started. Gave it to him. So he gave it a 4 stars. I don't know much about it. He said that it was interesting, but some of the words were in Spanish and different dialects and things throughout it. So he said it was a little hard to read at times to totally understand what was going on. He said that a lot of the names and things were a little difficult. So I think it was a good video. I think it was a good book. I think it challenged him, but I don't think it was one of his favorites. I probably will read it before I assign it to my daughter. Like I said, I totally ran out of time. She won't be reading it this year though. It's definitely a middle grade book. So the next one is actually another one he read for school. This is Wild Like the Foxes by Anauta Ford Blackmore. This is from The Good and the Beautiful, his language arts curriculum. I actually talked about this because I read this book, so I talked about it videos back. It's a tough book. It's for level 8 or grade 8, whatever. It's a book study that he did for it, and it's got some really tough situations in it. Parents pass away, things going on, some pretty bad characters in it, but all in all, it has a good story to it. It does teach a little bit about, it's an Inuit child, her family, they're hunters, fishers, trappers, all of those things. So it teaches a bit about that culture. I believe it's set in Canada. I'm 99% sure it's set in Canada. So it was neat because it came with a study of Canada and things like that. So he enjoyed it, the book study as a whole. Would he probably go back and read the book? Most likely not. He gave it a 4 stars because he said that it was really sad at sometimes. And I get that, I understand that. So the other one, or another one that I read this time, but that I do plan to assign to him for school this year, is Lines of Courage by Jennifer A. Nielsen. Okay, I did a big video on her book, Words on Fire, because I really, really love that book. It was super interesting, drew me in, gave me some history, all of that. This is another historical fiction, middle grade book. That's generally what she writes. I really liked this book, but this book was tough for me to stay engaged with, if that makes sense. So this book is about World War I. There's not a ton of books out there that are historical fiction that are on World War I that are actually on the war. There's a lot of them that are on things that are going on around the war, but there are not a ton on the actual war. There's tons of things on World War II, but not a ton on World War I. This one actually starts, it gets you into the assassination of the Archduke, where it all kind of began. But the way she does it is she takes you through the life of four young people. So late teens, early 20s, that kind of thing. So it's Kara, Juliet, Felix, Elsa, and Dimitri. So there's 5. And so you start out with one who's witnessing the assassination. But then you jump over to another one who works on a hospital train. And so you're getting her side of what's going on. Then you jump to another who lives in France and her family's fleeing the war. Then you jump to Elsa, who's actually on the German side of it, and her father is a commander for the German army. And then you end up with Dimitri, who's a Russian soldier. So it's interesting that it gives you all these different country perspectives, and I really like that. But it made it a little hard to stay engaged because Felix, you talk to him in the beginning of the book, you don't see him again till the very end of the book. Kara, you get like really invested in her, and then you don't really see much from her for many, many chapters. And like, this is a big book. It was, how many pages is this? It's almost 400 pages. And there were probably 100 pages that we didn't talk about Kara, and I had just started to care about her. And that's what I love so much about Jennifer Nielsen's books, is her characterization and how much you care about her characters. You want to know what happens to these people. And so jumping around and leaving the character behind was really hard for me. At the end, she kind of brings it all together and makes it all fit. But I just struggled with that. Like, I would finish one person's story and then it's kind of a break, and it's a different part of the book, right? So it's starting a different section under that person's name. And I found myself setting it down and wanting to read something else because I'm like, okay, I want to know what happens with that person, or wanting to flip to the back of the book and find their last chapter to figure out what happened to them. So that was the part that I struggled with this book. It was a good book. I'm definitely going to assign it to my son. Probably will eventually, when she gets there, assign it to my daughter. I like Jennifer Nielsen's writing. I just love her writing because it's so good. And it's very accurate historically. She gives you a lot of information without it feeling like a textbook. It's engaging, all of the things. This one was just set up differently. Now she has another one, I think it's called, I don't remember what the other one is called. There's one called Uprising. I'm not sure I'll read that. Resistance, I think, is one I was looking at, and Rescue. So I may try those out. If you've read either one of those, can you let me know what you thought of them? If they were broken like this, or if they were like in Words on Fire, the story was continuous. You stayed with the same people pretty much the whole time. It jumped a little bit, but not as drastically as this. So I'm curious if the other ones are more like this or more like Words on Fire. So if you've read them, let me know. Okay, the next 3 are actually a series. So y'all have seen me talk about Dead City. I talked about book 1. I'm not sure if I gave y'all my opinion on book 2 yet, because I got book 2 from the library, went ahead and gave my son book 1. We purchased this because I enjoyed it so much, and went ahead and gave him book 1, and he was like chomping at the bit to get to book 2. I just finished it, he picked it up. I got book 3 from the library, and he's like, hey, can you read that fast, or can I jump in front of you or something? But I wanted to read it. So I went ahead and like speed read it so that he could take it like 2 days later, because he went through these books, each of them in probably 2 days. This is really one of our favorite series right now. We loved it. I will let my daughter read it. I'm gonna wait a little bit. She still kind of gets creeped out by certain things. So I'm gonna wait until probably next summer, and then I will hand this series to her. It's such a fun series. So my son said the whole series as a whole, he gave it 5 stars. He loved it. He loved the plot. He loved the world building. He especially loved the characters. Same thing. This is another author that makes you fall in love with the characters, makes you care what happened to them, want to know what's going on. He said this kind of reminded him of Last Kids on Earth, that series. It's really fast paced. The author keeps you turning pages. You want to know what happens, and that you wish there were more. So the author did a really good job of wrapping up this trilogy and keeping it a trilogy. And I've come to appreciate that because I don't always love a big gigantic series anymore. I've realized that I kind of tend to lose interest. So he packed a lot into these 3 books. And in doing so, it was great. Now, do I wish that we got one more book to kind of sift through the remains of what was left and find out more information on how the world continued? Yes. But he wrapped it up well enough that it's not the end of the world. But man, we really love this series. It was a lot of fun. And even my son mentioned the way the characters, it's a group of 4 kids. So I guess I'll give the basis of it. It's a group of 4 kids. There are zombies in Manhattan, but they're like localized to Manhattan. They have to stay there. There's a type of rock that keeps them alive. And it follows one girl named Molly who finds out she is, like, they called her a zombie killer, but it kind of goes on from there. It's much more than that. And she finds out she's actually, her mother was part of this secret organization that kind of oversees the zombies, and she becomes part of that. And so it's her work in that organization that are in these 3 books. Highly, highly recommend. Super fun. It was great because this one, book 2, actually fell on Halloween, and I'm feeling very autumnal and all of that. It's that time of year, so that was awesome that you got Halloween thrown in there. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, just love those books. I've purchased 1 and 2. I'm going to purchase 3 because I know that I will read those again. And I have a feeling my son will read those again, and have no doubts that my daughter will love them. So the last one was a Tim Green book for my son. It's called Lost Boy. He's always been interested in Tim Green books. They're based around sports, but they have a lot more going on in them. He gave this one 5 stars. He said that the boy's mom is injured and he has to go search for a dad that he's never known, and try to get help for his mom's medical bills, is basically what it amounts to. So it's very much about baseball, but then it brings in a lot of things about family and familial relationships and all of that kind of stuff. So he enjoyed it. It was a simple read for him. But yeah, so we're still going through books. We're still doing all the things. I think I'm going to read faster again now that I've finished the Jennifer Nielsen book. Like I said, that one, I kept tending to set it down. And I'm currently going into some series that I think are going to be a lot faster paced and keep me reading a lot faster. So looking forward to that. It's getting to that autumn time of year. I got my nice little fall decor on my shelf here. Brought y'all a video on that. I think it came out before this one. So it's that time of year. I kind of want to snuggle up with a book and hang out and be cozy and all of that. So I'm hoping that I'm going to read. My kids are really, really involved in sports and things right now. It's that time of year. So probably going to be sitting at a lot of practices and hoping that I will definitely get my reading up throughout that time. So just wanted to check in with y'all, give you a look at what we've read. And so now y'all go read a lot. Thanks.